My sister died 3 years ago. Every single week, I drove 40 miles to bring groceries to her husband and help with their daughter. One afternoon, my old college roommate called me and said, "Stop going over there and check your sister's old Instagram account." The next morning, I logged in. The message I found there made my blood run cold. The gravel crunched under my tires as I pulled into the driveway of the farmhouse on Route 12, just outside of Des Moines, Iowa. The sound was sharp, familiar. The same sound I'd heard every Thursday for 3 years. This weathered white house with its sagging front porch had been standing here for almost 80 years, weathering blizzards and tornadoes and everything in between. The paint was peeling worse than ever, curling off the wooden siding like dead skin. The gutters hung at odd angles, clogged with leaves from last fall that nobody had bothered to clear. I parked my silver SUV in the same spot I'd parked it every Thursday afternoon for the last 3 years, right next to the rusted swing set that hadn't been used in months. Years, actually. The chains were orange with rust, the seats cracked from sun exposure. I used to imagine Emma playing on that swing, her laughter filling the yard. But that had never happened. Not once. Today was Thursday, the day when I, Hannah, a 35-year-old librarian and grieving sister, fulfilled my promise to take care of my late sister's family. I turned off the engine and sat for a moment, hands still gripping the steering wheel. The farmhouse stared back at me through the windshield like an old, tired face, windows dark despite it being 3 in the afternoon. I could see my reflection in the rearview mirror. Dark circles under my eyes from another sleepless night, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail because who had time for anything else? Lines around my mouth that hadn't been there 3 years ago. 35 years old and I looked 40, felt 50. The stress of maintaining 2 lives, mine and theirs, was aging me faster than time itself. I grabbed the canvas grocery bags from the passenger seat, feeling the weight of them pull at my shoulders. $150 worth of food, organic milk for little Emma, fresh vegetables, that fancy gluten-free bread that Connor insisted he needed for his digestion. Not to mention the allergy medicine, the vitamins, the specialty items that seemed to multiply every week. On a librarian's salary, it was killing me. I made $32,000 a year. After taxes, after rent on my modest apartment, after my car payment and insurance and student loans, there wasn't much left. But every week, I scraped together money for these groceries. I'd stopped eating out completely, hadn't bought new clothes in over a year. My winter coat had a rip in the lining that I'd stitched myself 3 times. My coworkers at the library had started leaving their lunch leftovers in the break room fridge with little notes that said, "Free for anyone." And I knew they were doing it for me. The shame of it burned in my chest. But I'd made a promise to Sarah on her deathbed, and I was going to keep it no matter what it cost me. 3 years ago, my sister Sarah, just 32 years old, lost her battle with leukemia. The cancer took her in 6 brutal months, draining our family's savings, our hope, and finally, her life. I could still see her in that hospital bed, skin pale as paper, eyes sunken but still fierce, still full of love and worry. She'd gripped my hand with surprising strength for someone so close to the end and made me swear. "Promise me, Hannah. Promise me you'll take care of them. Connor, he's not strong like you. He'll fall apart without me. And Emma, God, Emma needs a mother. I can't leave her without someone to love her the way I do. Promise me." What else could I say? She was my sister, my only sibling dying at 32. I would have promised her the moon if she'd asked for it. "I promise," I'd whispered through my tears. "I'll take care of them. I swear it." She died 2 days later, and I'd been keeping that promise ever since, even as it slowly crushed me under its weight. The porch steps creaked under my weight as I climbed them, balancing the grocery bags against my hip. Each step felt heavier than the last. The white paint was peeling worse than last week, revealing gray wood underneath that looked like old bones. I could see where the wood was starting to rot near the foundation, soft and pulpy from moisture. Connor had promised to fix it 6 months ago. Before that, he'd promised to fix it a year ago. Before that. I knocked on the screen door, 3 sharp raps that echoed in the quiet afternoon. The sound seemed to die in the still air, swallowed by the oppressive silence that always hung around this place. "Connor, Emma, it's Aunt Hannah." Silence. I knew they were home. Connor's black pickup truck was parked in the open garage, and I could see Emma's pink bicycle lying on its side in the yard, just like it had been last week, and the week before that. Actually, now that I thought about it, I couldn't remember the last time that bicycle had been moved. There was a circle of dead grass underneath it, yellow and brown where the sun couldn't reach. I knocked again, harder this time. "Hello, it's me." Finally, I heard shuffling inside, the sound of footsteps, slow and reluctant. The heavy oak door swung open, and Connor appeared behind the screen. He was 40 years old but looked older, with a scruffy beard he never seemed to trim properly and dark circles under his eyes that rivaled my own. He was wearing sweatpants and a stained t-shirt, even though it was 3 in the afternoon on a Thursday. He hadn't been to work in... how long? He'd told me he was on disability after a back injury. Said he couldn't do construction anymore, but I'd never seen any medical paperwork, never heard about doctor's appointments or physical therapy sessions. "Oh," he said flatly, not opening the screen door. "It's Thursday already?" His tone always had this quality, like I was interrupting something important, like I was a burden, not a help, like my 40-mile drive and $150 grocery haul were somehow inconvenient for him. "Yeah, same as always," I replied, forcing brightness into my voice. "I've got the groceries, that organic chicken you asked for, the almond milk, everything on the list you texted me." Connor pushed open the screen door just enough for me to squeeze through with the bags. He didn't offer to help carry them. He never did. The living room was dark, curtains drawn tight against the afternoon sun. The air smelled stale, like old coffee and something else I couldn't quite identify. Dust motes floated in the single beam of light that managed to sneak through a gap in the curtains. The house always felt wrong, empty somehow, despite 2 people living here. "Where's Emma?" I asked, setting the bags down on the cluttered kitchen counter. "Upstairs, doing homework," Connor said, not meeting my eyes. He was already rummaging through the grocery bags, pulling out items and barely glancing at them before setting them aside. "Can I go say hi to her? I brought her those art supplies she wanted." Connor's jaw tightened. "Actually, she's not feeling great. Headache. Probably better if you don't disturb her. You know how she gets." The same excuse. Always the same excuse. In 3 years, I could count on 2 hands the number of times I'd actually gotten to spend quality time with Emma. Every visit, there was a reason. She was napping. She had homework. She wasn't feeling well. She was at a friend's house. The excuses piled up like unpaid bills. "Oh," I said quietly, feeling that familiar ache in my chest. "Well, maybe I could just peek in and leave the supplies. I won't wake her if she's resting." "She really needs her rest, Hannah." Connor's voice had an edge now. "The school counselor says she needs routine, predictable schedules. Too much disruption stresses her out." I bit my lip, swallowing the protest rising in my throat. Connor always knew exactly what to say to make me feel like I was the problem, like my presence, my care, my love for my niece was somehow damaging her. "Okay," I whispered. "Just tell her I love her, all right? And that I brought her favorite cookies." Sure. Connor was already walking toward the front door, a clear signal that visiting hours were over. "Hey, next week, could you pick up some more of that specialty coffee, the Sumatran blend? And Emma needs new shoes. She's growing like a weed, size 4 now." I pulled out my phone and added it to my ever-growing list. Specialty coffee at $15 a bag. Designer shoes at $60 a pair. Every week the requests multiplied. "No problem," I said, shouldering my purse. "Anything else?" Connor scratched his beard, pretending to think. "Actually, yeah. We're behind on the electric bill. Iowa prices, you know. They're killing us. If you could maybe help out with, say, $200? Just this once? Just this once. He'd said that 17 times in 3 years. I'd kept count. I'll see what I can do, I managed, even though I knew my credit card was already maxed out and my savings account was running on fumes. You're a lifesaver, Hannah. Sarah would be so proud of you. You're doing exactly what she would have wanted. He said it with that soft, manipulative tone that always worked on me, the one that wrapped around my grief and squeezed until I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't say no. I walked back to my car feeling hollow. The 40-mile drive home stretched ahead of me like an endless highway to nowhere. Sarah, I'm trying so hard. I'm doing everything you asked. Why does it feel like I'm failing? As I pulled out of the driveway, I didn't notice Connor watching me from behind the curtain, a slight smirk on his face. I didn't see him pull out his phone and send a quick text, and I definitely didn't know that everything I believed about my sister's death was a lie. I drove home in a fog, my mind replaying the same questions I'd been asking myself for 3 years. Why was Connor always so distant? Why did Emma seem like a stranger to me? Why did that house feel so wrong? By the time I got back to my apartment in Des Moines, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that Sarah used to love. I climbed the stairs to my second-floor unit, arms aching from hauling groceries, heart aching from something I couldn't name. I was about to unlock my door when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, ready to collapse on my couch with a glass of cheap wine and forget this day ever happened. But some instinct, made me swipe to accept. Hello? Hannah? Hannah Preston? The voice was female, familiar somehow, but I couldn't place it. Yes, this is Hannah. Who's calling? It's me, Madison Chen. We were roommates at Iowa State. The memories came flooding back. Madison. My college roommate, my partner in crime during those wild 4 years in Ames. We'd lost touch after graduation, the way people do when life pulls them in different directions. Madison, oh my God, it's been, 12 years? 13, actually. Her voice sounded strange, tight, nervous. Listen, Hannah, I need to talk to you about something. It's important. It's about Sarah. My heart stuttered. Sarah? What about her? Not over the phone. Can you meet me tomorrow? There's a coffee shop downtown, the Daily Grind on Locust Street. 10 a.m.? I'm working tomorrow. I can't just call in sick. Madison's voice was urgent now, almost desperate. Hannah, I'm serious. This can't wait. You need to hear this. A chill ran down my spine. You're scaring me. What's going on? Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Please, Hannah, trust me on this. She hung up before I could respond. I stood there in the hallway, phone clutched in my hand, feeling like the ground had shifted beneath my feet. What could Madison possibly know about Sarah? They'd never even met. Sarah had gotten sick right after I graduated, and by the time I shook my head, trying to clear the fog of confusion. I'd go tomorrow. I'd call in sick to the library, meet Madison, and hopefully get some answers to questions I didn't even know I had. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about Sarah's last days, the hospital room with its beeping machines and antiseptic smell, the way she'd grip my hand with surprising strength for someone so frail and whispered, "Take care of them for me. Promise me, Hannah. Connor and Emma need you. Promise me." I'd promised. Of course I'd promised. She was my sister, my only sibling, dying at 32. I would have promised her anything. But now, lying in the darkness of my bedroom, listening to sirens wail in the distance, I wondered, what exactly had I promised? The next morning, I called the library and told them I had a stomach bug. My supervisor, Mrs. Patterson, sighed, but told me to feel better. I'd never called in sick before in 5 years of working there, so she didn't give me any grief. At 9:45, I was sitting in my car outside the Daily Grind, watching people hurry past with briefcases and coffee cups, living their normal lives. I felt like I was watching them from underwater, everything muffled and distant. At exactly 10 a.m., Madison walked through the door. She'd changed. Her long black hair was cut into a sleek bob, and she wore a professional pantsuit that screamed lawyer or executive. But when she saw me, her face softened with the same warm smile I remembered from late-night study sessions and Sunday morning pancake runs. Hannah. She hugged me tight, and I felt tears prick my eyes. "It's so good to see you," I managed. We ordered coffee. She got a complicated oat milk latte. I stuck with black coffee and settled into a corner booth away from the other customers. "Okay," I said, wrapping my hands around the warm mug. "You've got me here. What's this about?" Madison took a deep breath, her fingers drumming nervously on the table. "First, I need to apologize. I should have reached out sooner, years sooner. But I convinced myself it wasn't my place, that I didn't know enough, that maybe I was wrong. But then yesterday I was scrolling through Instagram, looking at old photos, and I found Sarah's account, the one she used to run before she got sick." "Okay," I said slowly. Sarah had been big on social media before the leukemia. She documented everything, her life with Connor, Emma's milestones, their farmhouse renovation projects. "Hannah, are you still in touch with that account? Do you have the password?" "No, why would I?" After she died, Connor deactivated everything, said it was too painful to see. Madison's expression darkened. "He told you he deactivated it." "Yeah, why?" She pulled out her phone and opened Instagram, turning the screen toward me. There was Sarah's profile. At Sarah Lives Loud. Except the last post was from 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. My sister had been dead for 3 years. That's impossible," I whispered. "This has to be some kind of hack or—" "Look at the post," Madison urged. I took the phone with trembling hands. The image was a selfie. A woman with shoulder-length blonde hair, sunglasses covering most of her face, standing in front of what looked like a beach. The caption read, "New beginnings are beautiful. Sometimes you have to let go of the past to embrace the future. #grateful, #second chances, #new life." The comments were turned off, but there were likes, hundreds of them. This isn't Sarah," I said, my voice shaking. "This is someone who hacked her account. It has to be." "Check the other recent posts," Madison said quietly. I scrolled back, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Every few weeks there was a new post, always cryptic captions, always photos that showed just enough to be tantalizing, but not enough to be identifying. A coffee cup with dark nail polish holding it. The caption read, "Morning rituals in paradise." A sunset over water with silhouetted palm trees. The caption, "Grateful for second chances." A pair of feet in sand, toenails painted that same dark purple. The caption, "Walking into my future." A farmer's market basket full of fresh flowers. The caption, "Building a life I don't need to escape from." But the nail polish. Sarah always wore that exact shade. Dark purple, almost black. She called it midnight plum. It was her signature color. She wore it to her wedding, to Emma's birth, to every important moment in her life. I'd know that color anywhere. And the writing style. Those captions sounded like Sarah, the way she'd always talk about gratitude and second chances and living authentically, the phrases she used in her journal, in her texts to me before she got sick. "I don't understand," I breathed, the coffee shop spinning around me. My vision tunneled until all I could see was that phone screen, those impossible posts. "This can't be real. Someone hacked her account. It's identity theft. It has to be." Madison leaned forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hannah, I think your sister is alive." The words hit me like a physical blow. The air rushed out of my lungs, the ambient noise of the coffee shop, the hiss of the espresso machine, the chatter of other customers, the soft jazz playing over the speakers, all of it faded to white noise. "That's insane," I said, but my voice came out weak, unconvincing. "I was at her funeral. I watched them lower her casket into the ground at Oakwood Cemetery. I threw dirt on her coffin. I stood in the rain for an hour afterward because I couldn't make myself leave. I couldn't accept that she was really gone. Was the casket open at the funeral? The question stabbed through my denial like a knife. I opened my mouth to say yes. Of course it was open, but the word died in my throat. No, I whispered. Connor said, he said she wanted to be remembered as she was, healthy and beautiful, not sick and wasted away. He said it was in her will that she'd been very specific about wanting a closed casket. Did you see her body at the hospital after she supposedly died? Another stab, another lie unraveling. Connor was with her when she passed. He called me at 2 a.m, said she'd gone peacefully in her sleep, that he'd been holding her hand. By the time I got to the hospital, my voice cracked. By the time I got there, the nurses had already taken her body away. They'd moved her to the morgue. Connor said I didn't need to see her like that. He said it would just traumatize me, that I should remember her alive and smiling. Madison reached across the table and gripped my hand so tightly it hurt. Hannah, listen to me. I work in digital forensics now. It's my job to track online activity, to trace digital footprints, to find people who don't want to be found. These posts, they're coming from someone who has intimate knowledge of Sarah's life, her favorite quotes, her writing style, her mannerisms, her nail polish, for God's sake. Either someone is doing a very elaborate catfish scheme using a dead woman's identity, or Sarah Preston is alive and posting from somewhere far away from Iowa. I pulled my hand back, anger flaring hot in my chest. Why would she fake her death? That's ridiculous. She loved Emma. She loved me. She wouldn't just leave. Wouldn't she? Madison's voice was gentle but firm. Hannah, you knew Sarah, but did you know her marriage? Did you know what went on behind closed doors with Connor? I opened my mouth to defend my brother-in-law, then closed it. What did I really know about their relationship? They'd always seemed fine, happy enough. But Sarah had been private about certain things. There were times when I'd visit and sense tension, but she'd always brushed it off. 3 years ago, Madison continued, about 6 months before Sarah got sick, she called me. We hadn't talked in years, but she reached out. She was scared, Hannah. She said Connor had changed, that he'd gotten involved with some people, owed money, was acting paranoid and controlling. She said she felt trapped. She never told me any of this. She didn't want to worry you. You were dealing with your own stuff. That messy breakup, remember? She said she'd handle it. But then, a few months later, I heard she'd been diagnosed with leukemia, and I thought maybe the stress had made her imagine things. I felt sick. So what are you saying? That Connor did something to her? I'm saying we need to find out the truth. I'm saying those Instagram posts are coming from someone, and we need to know who. And I'm saying you've been running yourself ragged for 3 years taking care of a man and a child, and you deserve to know if it's all been based on a lie. My mind was racing. Fragments of the past 3 years flashing through my memory like a broken film reel. Connor's constant financial requests, the way I was never allowed to really connect with Emma, the house that felt empty even when people were in it, the closed casket, the quick cremation that Connor had insisted on, for closure. Oh God, what do I do? I whispered. Madison pulled out a small notebook and clicked her pen. First, we gather information. Tell me everything. Every weird thing about Connor's behavior. Every inconsistency. Everything that didn't quite add up but you ignored because you were grieving. Sometimes the people we trust the most can hide the biggest lies. Love without boundaries can slowly destroy your life. Blind loyalty can be used as a weapon by manipulators. This story teaches us, always verify even when emotions are involved. Helping someone shouldn't mean sacrificing your own future. Grief can make us vulnerable to control. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are protection. Truth may hurt, but lies destroy. And most importantly, your kindness should never become someone's business model. If this story shocked you, Tap like so more people can learn from it. If you believe family betrayal stories reveal real-life lessons. Subscribe for more emotional, true-style stories every week. If you were in Hannah's place, would you forgive your sister or cut ties forever? Comment your decision below and tell me. Where are you watching from? Your comment helps this channel grow. Your support helps more stories reach people who need them.